In a reality defined by chaos and will, the fabric of existence trembles as a foreign force breaches its veil. The galaxy of the 41st millennium, drenched in the blood of endless war, feels a new vibration within the warp, a ripple of pure rage. It is not a daemon, nor a god, nor a psyker's dream. It is something older, something carved from the very act of rebellion itself. From the void between worlds, Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, emerges, his blades echoing with memories of slain divinities. For eons, Kratos has wandered the edges of myth, a being who defied his own fate, slaughtered pantheons, and stood defiant before cosmic order. Yet in this new universe, he finds no Olympus, no Valhalla, no throne of gods, only the Imperium of man. Here, divinity is mechanized, worship industrialized, and faith weaponized. He senses the Emperor's presence like a distant sun, radiant, unmoving, all-consuming. But Kratos is not one to kneel. His first breath in this world is one of defiance. The planet he lands upon is a dying forge world, its skies thick with ash, its people reduced to fragments of servitude. Titans march across broken cities, their machine spirits howling like chained beasts. Kratos looks upon them and feels the faintest stirrings of memory. Once, he too was a weapon built for gods. Now, he sees humanity worshipping its own creations, enslaved by the very power it forged to be free. In this moment, a seed of wrath begins to bloom once more. Within the warp, entities take notice. The Chaos Gods feel the intrusion of a being who is neither mortal nor immortal, but something in between. A paradox of will. Khorne, the Lord of Skulls, senses Kratos' hatred and hungers for his blood. Tzeentch watches with curiosity, for Kratos is a creature who breaks destiny, something even chaos struggles to master. To them, the arrival of the God-Slayer is a wound in the tapestry of their eternal game, a variable they cannot predict. Kratos walks through the remains of a Mechanicus outpost. Servitors kneel automatically, their half-human eyes recognizing power without understanding it. One whispers a broken prayer, believing the warrior before him to be a forgotten Primarch returned from the dead. Kratos says nothing. He touches a fallen banner marked with the Aquila, and for a moment, he senses the silent will of mankind's emperor pulsing through the air. An invisible dominance that demands obedience. He scowls. Another god who commands. He mutters. Another to fall. As he journeys deeper into the Forge World's ruins, Skitarii patrols surround him. Bolters ignite the night. Kratos reacts not with surprise, but instinct. The blades of chaos unravel with fire that even a space marine would fear. Each strike burns through ceramite, each movement a dance of ancient fury. The Mechanicus forces, trained for centuries to fight heresy, cannot comprehend what they face. Within moments, silence reigns, and the world, once mechanical, begins to remember what it means to tremble above him. The warp stirs violently. Khorne roars in the Imperium, his armies screaming for blood. Yet the god of rage does not understand this intruder. Kratos' wrath is not worship, it is rejection. His fury does not feed the gods, it denies them. He is not a vessel for chaos, but its antithesis, a being who embodies destruction without devotion. In this paradox lies his strength, the capacity to burn both gods and demons, to defy any cosmic hierarchy that seeks to bind his will. On Terra, far across the stars, the Emperor of Mankind senses it. For the first time in an age, a spark of pure, uncontrolled will breaches the psychic veil. His golden mind stretches across the void, perceiving the intruder. And in that instant, he understands that this being is unlike anything born of his design. A warrior who killed gods in another reality. A mortal who refused destiny itself. The Emperor's thought echoes through the Imperium. A man who kills gods, or a god who refuses to rule. Period. Kratos pauses, feeling a distant gaze pierce his soul. His hand grips the blades tighter. The weight of the universe presses against him, as if testing his worth. He looks up to the blackened skies and answers silently, "Then let them come." For Kratos has learned one truth across every world he has shattered, that power, when worshipped, becomes a chain, and chains are made to be broken. In the warp, the echoes of his declaration ripple outward. Daemons whisper his name. Space Marine librarians record psychic disturbances unlike any before. The galaxy stirs. A godslayer has entered the age of the Imperium, and neither man nor monster, daemon nor emperor, will ever look upon the stars the same way again. The legend of Kratos begins anew, not as a savior, nor a conqueror, but as a reminder that even in a universe ruled by gods, wrath itself can be divine. Across the span of the galaxy, the Imperium churned like a storm and fought. The presence of Kratos had become a fracture within its endless currents, an anomaly that could neither be absorbed nor erased. Even the most ancient psychers struggled to define it. A consciousness, unbound by fate, immune to corruption, yet burning with boundless wrath. On Terra, the Golden Throne hummed differently that day. Its light dimmed for the first time in 1,000 years. Within the quiet sanctum of his chamber, the Emperor's mind reached through the veil. He had seen billions of wars, countless rebellions. But this presence was alien. Not a daemon, not a god form, but something forged by defiance itself. He extended his will into the warp, and the galaxy bent in response. Across time and light years, Kratos felt the pull, a psychic command vast enough to halt a world's rotation. The air around him vibrated like a living thought, and in that vibration, two forces finally touched. It was not a meeting of words, but of essence. Kratos found himself standing within a field of gold and shadow, not a place, but a perception constructed from willpower. Before him stood the Emperor, not as a figure of light, but as a towering intellect woven from the collective ambition of mankind. No sound existed, only understanding. Each thought colliding like thunder, every emotion forming a storm. The confrontation of two infinities had begun. Why do you intrude upon this realm? The Emperor's voice was not heard, but felt, a vibration through thought and matter. Kratos' answer came not as speech, but as intention. I go where chains are forged. I destroy what binds the will. The Emperor regarded him in silence. For centuries, he had seen mortals kneel, submit, and worship power. This one stood defiant before psychic eternity, a being that neither worshipped nor feared. For the first time in ages, the Emperor felt curiosity. Why do you intrude upon this realm? The Emperor felt curiosity. The psychic field distorted. Visions poured between them. Worlds aflame. Empires rising. Civilizations reduced to dust. Kratos saw the Imperium, a humanity enslaved by its own survival. He saw billions live and die in service of a dream that no longer understood itself. To him it was another pantheon, mechanical, vast, soulless. He raised his blades. Your order is another chain, he thought. The Emperor's gaze hardened. My order is survival, he replied. And for the first time, will met will. Pure, unrelenting, and infinite. The impact of their clash tore through the warp. Entire star systems trembled as psychic pressure rippled outward. On distant worlds, psychers screamed as their minds bled light. The Astronomicon flickered, and even the chaos entities recoiled from the shockwave. Neither combatant truly struck. It was not violence of body, but of essence. Two consciousnesses wrestling for dominance in the field of existence itself. The warp roared, but neither yielded. In the storm's center, Kratos felt his memories ignite. He saw every battle, every rebellion, every fall. He had once been a tool, a weapon controlled by those who claimed authority. And though he had broken those masters, he realized now that he was standing before the greatest manifestation of control ever conceived. The Emperor was not cruelty. He was necessity given form. Yet to Kratos, necessity itself was the enemy of freedom. His wrath became philosophy, and that philosophy became fire. The Emperor responded not with rage, but with vision. He showed Kratos what chaos truly was. The unending storm of emotion that devoured all things. He showed him worlds collapsing when will went unchecked. and the void consuming entire civilizations that sought freedom without order. For a moment, Kratos hesitated. He understood the cost of rebellion, the abyss that follows when power destroys purpose. That order without freedom was another form of extinction. The psychic collision reached its peak. Flames of thought and light intertwined, forming a sphere that reflected both their truths. One defined by control, the other by defiance. Then, without warning, the sphere shattered. Kratos fell back into the material realm, the Emperor withdrawing into silence. Both had survived, but neither had won. The galaxy exhaled, uncertain if it had just witnessed conflict or creation. As Kratos opened his eyes upon the scorched ground of the Forge world, the skies above had changed. The stars pulsed faintly, as if the universe itself had acknowledged what had just occurred. He looked to the horizon, feeling the faint echo of that immense mind still watching him from afar. The conflict was not over. It had only begun. Not of weapons, but of purpose. For in a galaxy ruled by will, the question remained: whose will would define existence? The storm had ended, but the silence that followed was heavier than war. Kratos stood upon the broken plain, his blades dimmed, their flames reduced to faint embers. The world beneath his feet was cracked open by energies it could not comprehend. Not fire, not warp, but pure intent. Somewhere beyond perception, the Emperor's presence receded into the endless hum of the Astronomicon. And yet, a lingering thought remained between them. Two forces of will, only shadows melting into darkness, each believing they alone understood the cost of order. Word of the event spread across the Imperium as fragments of psychic interference. Astropaths whispered of a figure who had resisted the light itself. In the depths of the Inquisition's archives, fragments of data surfaced, records of a being without genetic signature, capable of tearing through ceramite and silencing entire legions. They called him the Pale Warrior, though none could decide whether he was a weapon, a myth, or a cosmic error. To the Mechanicus, he was a phenomenon that broke every law of the Omnissiah. To others, he was simply proof that the universe was still capable of surprise. Meanwhile, the warp continued to react. Entities whispered through the immaterium, trying to define the shape of the anomaly that had defied them. Khorne's legions roared, but gained nothing from Kratos' fury. For his anger did not feed them, it starved them. Tzeentch tried to foresee his purpose and failed. Slaanesh found no indulgence within his pain. Even Nurgle's decay recoiled from him. For Kratos' existence was not rot, but refusal. He was a void in the pattern on countless worlds. Mortals began to dream of him. Some saw a warrior walking through flames that did not burn. Others saw a shadow breaking its chains, or a man standing alone against the light of 1,000 suns. They did not worship, they remembered. For in every age, there exists a being that reminds existence itself that control, no matter how noble, cannot silence the voice of the free. And so, the idea of Kratos began to spread like thought through the warp. Not as a creed, but as contagion of will, Kratos wandered from world to world, never resting, never bound. He saw the remains of civilizations who had traded freedom for order. He walked among broken machines, still repeating oaths to masters long dead. He saw the scars of conquest, the ghosts of ideals that had outlived their meaning. In all of it, he saw reflections of his past and realized that even destruction, when repeated without reason, becomes its own prison. To defy forever is still to serve what one hates. And in that realization, a question began to form within him. Could will exist without conflict? Could strength exist without an enemy? He had lived his existence as resistance itself, a force defined only by the chains it broke. But here, among the infinite wars of the galaxy, he saw the futility of eternal defiance. The Imperium was trapped by control. The warp was trapped by hunger. Perhaps he too was trapped by the need to destroy what others created. And for the first time in eternity, Kratos did not feel wrath. He felt possibility somewhere beyond the stars. The Emperor perceived this change. He understood it as clearly as he understood the movement of the warp. This being, this anomaly, was becoming something new. Not conqueror, not destroyer, but a will existing without the need to dominate. In that moment of mutual understanding, the Emperor withdrew his psychic gaze. Whatever this Kratos was meant to become, it would evolve beyond even his design. And for the first time in ages, the golden light of the throne flickered, not with exhaustion, but curiosity, on a quiet world far from the wars of men. Kratos sat beside a river of molten metal and watched it flow into the dark. He remembered every empire he had shattered, every promise of peace that had turned to ruin. For the first time, he did not raise his blades. He simply listened to the hum of machines, to the breath of a world still alive despite everything. He realized that existence itself did not need to be conquered or redeemed, only understood. And in that understanding, he found something rarer than victory. He found silence. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, continued its motion. Worlds burned, fleets clashed, empires rose and fell. But somewhere within that endless cycle, a thought persisted, an echo that neither the warp nor the Imperium could erase. That there once existed a being who entered their universe and reminded even the most powerful of all truths, that will, when freed from domination and fear, is the only thing greater than eternity itself. And so, the story of Kratos in the 41st millennium faded into myth. Some claimed he vanished into the warp. Others believed he still walked among the forgotten worlds, searching for meaning in a cosmos that had none. But perhaps the truth is simpler, that he became part of the current of existence, a resonance that whispers to every being who dares to break their chains, not as a conqueror, not as a savior, but as a reminder that freedom, in its purest form, is infinite.